Google just shipped a 31 billion parameter model that beats systems 10 times its size and licensed it Apache 2.0. Today, why Gemma 4's architecture breaks the efficiency narrative, how Anthropic appears to have deliberately capped Opus 4.7's agentic browsing for safety reasons, and the open-weight challenger quietly matching frontier performance at 25x lower cost. On Nick Saraev, the creator revealed that Claude Opus 4.7 posts a 10.9-point SWE-Bench Pro gain, jumping from 53.4% to 64.3%, yet simultaneously regresses on agentic web search and cybersecurity benchmarks versus 4.6. That combination is anomalous. Every other recent release lifts all categories together. Saraev's read is pointed. This is the only benchmark where the newer model is strictly worse, and I don't think that's an accident. His case is that Anthropic is deliberately staging autonomous browsing and security capabilities across model generations as a safety measure, not packaging them as unified upgrades. The benchmark side-by-side on screen makes the inversion hard to dismiss. Coding scores climb sharply left to right. Agentic browse scores invert. The second-order hit lands on every agent developer's roadmap. Teams building web research or ascent pipelines have operated on one foundational assumption. Newer models are strictly additive. If frontier labs are now intentionally throttling autonomous browsing for safety, version locking across 4.6 and 4.7 becomes a real engineering requirement, and every future release needs an explicit regression audit before upgrade. Monotonic capability growth just stopped being a safe default. That deliberate capability staging points to a broader pattern the next creator caught independently. On 2-minute papers, Károly Zsolnai-Fehér revealed that Google's Gemma 4 just quietly shattered a foundational assumption about how AI scaling works. The 31B dense model, not a sparse mixture of experts' architecture, landed at number 3 among all open-weight models globally. As he put it, Gemma 4's 31B dense model beats models 10 times larger and remains competitive with models 20 times larger on some measurements. That's not a marginal improvement. That's a structural result. The prevailing industry consensus has been that most sparse architectures are the only credible path to top-tier efficiency at scale. Gemma 4 directly challenges that. The announcement page shows the benchmark stack. Gemma 4 sitting above models with 310 billion parameters using a fraction of the compute footprint. The second-order implication here is stark. If dense models can close this gap, inference costs drop dramatically. 10 times fewer active parameters means 10 times cheaper per token at scale, which makes frontier competitive AI deployable without MO infrastructure. That changes the build calculus for every resource-constrained lab overnight. And speaking of labs rethinking their architecture assumptions, our next story hits even closer to home. On Wes Roth, the latest deep dive revealed that NousResearch's Trinity model is putting serious pressure on frontier pricing, performing comparably to Claude Opus on OpenClaw agentic tasks at 22 cents per input versus $5 to $25 for Opus. That's a 25x cost reduction with near-equivalent scores on Bench, the agentic evaluation suite used for the head-to-head. The split screen here shows Trinity's benchmark results alongside Opus 4.6. The gap is narrow enough to make you look twice. What makes this significant isn't just the number, it's the category. This is the first public pricing data point where an open-weight challenger has matched a closed frontier model specifically on agentic workloads, not general reasoning or chat. Agentic tasks, long horizon planning, tool use, multi-step execution were supposed to be frontier territory. If this benchmark survives scrutiny, the burden of proof flips. Engineering teams will need to actively justify a 25x premium per token rather than defaulting to it, which accelerates open-weight models from experimental option to baseline infrastructure. That cost pressure connects directly to the next story, where the definition of what counts as a frontier capability is being redrawn again. On 2-minute papers, the host revealed that Gemma 4's most consequential upgrade isn't the benchmark score, it's the license. Gemma 3 shipped under Google's restrictive Gemma license, which structurally blocked commercial fine-tuned variants and enterprise products from ever existing. Gemma 4 scraps that entirely. Gemma 4 uses the Apache 2.0 license, modification, commercial sale, and deployment with almost zero friction. That's the same legal foundation that turned Llama 3 into an ecosystem. Medical fine-tunes, legal reasoning models, code specialists, derivative products Gemma 3 could structurally never generate. The leaderboard split screen shows Gemma 4 sitting at number 3 among open models, and that combination, top 3 capability plus Apache 2.0, is precisely the trigger condition that precedes a Llama-style derivative explosion. License changes are chronically underreported relative to benchmarks, but they're often the more consequential variable. Every enterprise that was locked into a closed API because no open alternative was commercially viable just got an exit ramp. That direct pressure on closed API moats is exactly what the next story is about. On Dan Martell, the creator revealed a usage gap that reframes the entire "agents are taking over" narrative. ChatGPT pulls roughly 6 billion monthly visits. Manus, one of the most hyped agentic tools on the market, gets 18 million. As Martell puts it, that's 0.3%. A 333-to-1 ratio, meaning the overwhelming majority of people who use AI daily have never once touched an agent-level product. The split screen here shows similar web traffic estimates side by side. The numbers aren't remotely close. Martell's point is that agentic AI, despite wall-to-wall VC coverage and breathless tech press, is still deep in early adopter territory. Teams shipping agent-native products today are building 2 to 3 years ahead of where real end-user demand actually sits. The concrete implication: your GTM strategy has to pick a lane deliberately. Selling to the agentic 0.3% means technically sophisticated buyers, high-touch sales, and niche pricing, all of which will actively repel the mass market when it finally arrives. Founders conflating media hype with market size are optimizing for the wrong clock entirely. And speaking of timing mismatches, our next story is about a model capability that just quietly landed ahead of schedule. On Nick Saraev, the creator revealed that Claude 4.7's visual reasoning just posted the largest single-generation benchmark leap Anthropic has ever shipped, jumping from 69.1% to 82.1%, a 13-point gain that caught the AI community flat-footed. 82.1%. That is the biggest leap we've seen to date on any single benchmark. And critically, Saraev argues this isn't a prompt engineering trick or better scaffolding layered on top of the model. The gap between raw scores and tool-assisted scores actually narrowed this generation, which points to something deeper, a genuine upgrade to the underlying vision encoder itself. What that means in practice: document-heavy agentic pipelines, invoice parsing, chart analysis, UI automation, that previously required OCR fallback layers or human-in-the-loop review to hit acceptable accuracy may now run clean, end-to-end, with Claude alone. The split screen here shows exactly what that old stack looked like. 3 integration layers where one model call now suffices. The OCR fallback wasn't just a cost line. It was the reliability bottleneck that kept enterprises from trusting full automation on documents. That trust gap closing is what makes the next story on agentic deployment timing so relevant. On Dan Martell, the investor and entrepreneur revealed that his autonomous real estate agent, RE, didn't just assist with deal flow. It replaced an analyst's entire week in under 2 hours. Deployed live against real capital decisions. Resourced 7 properties, ran full underwriting on each, and surfaced exactly 2 bid recommendations. No step-by-step prompting, no human checklist. As Martell put it bluntly, refound 7 real estate deals in the first 2 hours, analyzed all of them, and told me exactly which 2 to bid on. This wasn't a benchmark demo. The split screen here shows a live deployment log, actual money, actual decisions. What separates this from prior agent hype is workflow completeness, sourcing, filtering, financial modeling, and final recommendation executed as a single uninterrupted pipeline. The second-order hit lands hardest on junior knowledge workers. When an agent compresses a week of deal sourcing into 2 hours at decision-grade quality, it doesn't augment the analyst role, it eliminates the budget line for it. Private portfolios are already running lean, while most enterprises haven't shipped their first pilot. That displacement gap is widening in silence, and the next story shows exactly how fast the tooling is moving. On Wes Roth, the channel revealed that Hermes Agent isn't just another tool-calling wrapper. It's built around a fundamentally different accumulation model. Where standard agents forget everything between runs, Hermes writes, validates, and stores new skills through iterative hypothesis testing cycles, building a persistent skill library that compounds the longer it stays on a single task domain. The walkthrough shows a layered memory architecture. The agent proposes a skill hypothesis, tests it against real outputs, refines or discards based on results, then commits successful patterns to long-term storage. As Wes frames it, Hermes autonomously generates and refines skills through hypothesis testing cycles with persistent memory, compounding capability the longer it runs. That's not iteration, that's specialization drift toward a structural moat. NousResearch is deliberately positioning this against stateless RAG and static tool use patterns. An agent that's been running on your codebase for a week is architecturally different from one starting cold. The second-order implication: if this holds in production, deployment duration becomes a competitive variable. Enterprises that run Hermes longest on a domain accumulate an advantage that a fresh start agent simply cannot close. That compounding dynamic shows up in the next story too, where persistent context is. reshaping how models handle long-horizon reasoning. Lay today's channels side by side, and one signal dominates. 2-minute papers clocks Gemma 4 inverting the MOA dominates efficiency assumption. Dense beats sparse at 1/10 the parameters. Nick Saraev independently catches Anthropic pulling the handbrake on autonomous browsing, not by accident, but by design. Wes Roth finds Trinity undercutting both at 25x lower cost. 3 creators, 0 coordination, same underlying story. The frontier agentic stack is being compressed from every direction simultaneously. Open weight models eating from below, safety constraints capping from above. And then Dan Martell drops the number that reframes everything. 0.3% of chatbot users have tried an agent. Every lab, every benchmark, every cost war. All of it is a land grab for a market that is still, almost entirely, theoretical. Efficiency is inverting, safety is a strategic lever, and 99.7% of the market hasn't shown up yet. Follow AI Hustle at AI Hustle Love. Daily signal, no noise, so you're ready when it does.